Stop. No. Okay, 1 second. Okay. No. Oh, okay. Okay. Are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Okay. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to. Actually, it doesn't let me broadcast the groups that I'm not an admin of, so I'm just gonna. There's a few groups that I'm gonna stream that to.
Sure.
Just 1 second. And Facebook. Where's this? Oh, come on. Facebook.
Can you hear me okay?
It's a little low. 1 second. Maybe it's my speaker.
Is this better?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, let's see here. 1 second. I'm trying to. Come on. There we go. Facebook. There we go. Facebook. Okay. And I'm going to share it to a group. And who am I sharing it to? Yes. Okay. To that. And then who else to? Okay. Who else? Okay. All right. So we are here tonight with Alana. How do you pronounce your name? Parek?
Yes, that's right. Alana Parek.
Okay. So Alana is she actually had you had actually had a YouTube channel even before you were doing dancing, right? I'm an artist also, so I sing and everything. So
Oh, that's so cool.
And you've helped countless people straighten out their lives, I think, right? From sharing your experiences and helping them get out of bad habits. I don't like to call it an addiction, because I don't believe there's an addiction other than substances, or I think there's bad habits. Calling it addiction, my belief is it's counterintuitive, but you've helped them get out of their bad habits. You help them get into good relationships and better their lives. And it's really, it's commendable, because you could have just gone on doing your dance studio or whatever, which is great, and you could have probably had a lot of followers that way. But you chose to really make a difference.
Well, thank you.
And I have to tell you that, like, on my group, we talk about Jewish topics and things like that, and there is like this pseudo rabbis that are on YouTube rabbis that they're constantly, it's their culture also. They, the Middle Eastern culture, it's like very similar to Muslim countries, and even the Jewish population gets influenced by the Middle Eastern, where they talk about, if you do this, you're going to burn in hell. They talk about, like, one guy put out a whole video of, masturbation. He put out a 2-hour video on how you're going to burn in hell, and, like, it was very graphic how you can, and he also put out another video of 3 hours on what hell is, So I don't really allow him on the group. Not just, I don't like censorship, but my group, I wanted to keep it an upbeat. I don't believe this is effective. Besides, they put down other people who don't follow their beliefs. So, but I think that the way I was brought up is that part of the way to to get out of getting into habits of immorality or promiscuity is to focus is not to focus on it that much. I mean, to focus on
I'm so sorry. Let me just let my dog in real quick. I could hear him whining behind me. Just give me one
okay.
second. I apologize.
My cat gave up already. She was whining too.
Sorry about that. I could hear him whining.
No problem. So I, you know, this is my belief that, you kind of, you don't emphasize, the more you emphasize on these subjects, sometimes it could be counterintuitive. I mean, a person's thoughts are constant. It's really hard to stop your thoughts. Meditation is a different way where you let your thoughts just go out of your head by themselves, like they fly out like a bird, and we concentrate on other things. But there's also an effective way of just, you have to really look at these things as really, it has to disgust you to a certain point. I believe
Yeah.
if it doesn't disgust you, then you're not going to stop. And I talked enough. Just how did you? I mean, so how did you get into this, and what made you want to pursue this and to help people? To
Well, it kind of just I mean, I didn't really go into this thinking I was going to help anyone. Like I had a deep I know I actually understand what you mean when you say there's no, like, you don't like to use the word addiction. But I definitely felt like it was a very compulsive habit for me, that I felt a really deep inability to stop. I had originally found pornography when I was 7 years old, and it was very shocking to me when I first found it. But usually I find that the things that shock us and the things that shock our nervous system tend to also be attractive to us. And so I kept kind of watching it over and over. And over the course of many years, I developed a strong addictive quality to that material. And it wasn't until somewhere, I think like 2016, 2017, that I discovered this movement online called NoFap. Have you heard of that movement?
yeah, sure, sure.
So, yeah, so I discovered the NoFap movement. And at the time, I found that it was mainly men who were making videos about it. And I figured that it was just a guy thing and that maybe there's like nothing really to be gained for women. But then I saw one other female YouTuber who started making her own NoFap videos, and she was talking about how much her life had changed since beginning her NoFap journey. And it was very intriguing to me. And so I decided to do it for myself. I decided to take on that challenge. And at the time, I didn't really think that there was anything wrong with watching porn, but I felt inwardly that it was kind of ruining my life a little bit. And so um, I decided to take on that challenge, and I tried many times to stop watching it, and I could never make it past a week. I would get to a week and I would have to watch it again. It's like I had no self control. And so eventually I kept getting really sick of constantly failing. And so I told myself, okay, I'm just going to start documenting my journey for YouTube. I'm just going to make videos documenting the whole process because I think that will help keep me more accountable, because I don't want to upload a video saying that I failed for
Oh
like the
wow.
whole world to see, you know. And at that time I had a very small following on YouTube. And so I didn't really expect that many people to find my videos. Um, but as I continued to make my videos, documenting my journey, my following started to grow. And I noticed that those videos were becoming the most popular videos on my YouTube channel. And eventually, I began receiving emails from people asking me to help them. Just like, hey, I have the same problem. I have the same struggles, and I don't know how to stop. I need your help. Like, can you help me? Can you coach me? And so I didn't really go into it thinking I was ever going to help anyone through it. But as people started reaching out to me for help, I decided, yeah, why not? I'll try to help these people. And eventually it became a way for, it became kind of like a calling for me, you know, but kind of just like fell into it.
Wow. So you think, is there more than just the fact that you held yourself accountable to all these people on YouTube, or is there are there tricks to really stop bad habits like that, or?
Well, I would say, the first, so I attempted it several times because, the first time I documented it for YouTube, I had made it like 83 days without watching it. And then I had relapsed and I started watching it again after that. And I actually fell even deeper into addictive habits than I was before I even started the journey. And for about a month, I was kind of going back to my old ways even harder. And then I decided, okay, I can't keep doing this anymore. I need to go back on NoFap. So I did it again. And so I noticed that it took a really long time for my heart to change the about the habit. Like at first I was really using a lot of willpower to avoid that material. Um, but the second round of NoFap is when I started to connect with God more, and I started to really pray about it, which I didn't do at all the first time I tried. And I noticed there was a huge difference in the second time that I attempted NoFap because I was actually praying to God during it. And during that
Hmm.
time, I started to notice that my it was almost like my heart was changing about it. And I noticed that as time went on, I didn't really need to use my willpower to stop watching it. It was more that my feelings about it had just changed because of everything that I was learning. I was really praying to God to release me from that addiction and from those habits. And you just keep trying again and again and again and again. But eventually, I think that if you ask God to show you the truth and you ask earnestly with an open heart, I think God will do something to your soul. Well, he'll make that stuff repulsive to you eventually. And I even remember after the second round of NoFap, I had tried to go back to watch porn, and I noticed that my reaction to what I was watching was completely different. Whereas before, I might have gotten aroused from watching certain material. When I went back to it, I felt really depressed and sad watching it, and it didn't give me the same feelings that it once gave me. And so now at this point, I don't even think about it. Like it doesn't even cross my mind to watch it because it's just like it's so out of my consciousness at this point. But it took a years to get there, you know.
Hmm. it, that's something about prayer is really something that that we, and meditation, like meditation really, well, prayer is a type of meditation, but it really helps self-control.
Yeah.
um and I think also, my belief is also, I don't know how you feel about this, you talk about like, oh, failing and then going back to it and failing, going, I mean, I don't, I think that trying to make a statistic is counterproductive a lot of times, because
Mhm.
um, you know I'll give you a little example. There's it's a very big thing by us to pray with a quorum of 10 men. We need we go to the synagogue. We go 3 times a day, and we pray with what we call a minyan, like 10 people.
Mhm.
So at least, sometimes, usually it's a lot more. People go, and they read the Bible, the Torah, and so one person was going. It was very late at night, and they were going back from a wedding, and they could have, they were crossing the border and from Canada, from Montreal into New York, and they could drive out of their way and make go to the synagogue, but they decided that he called his rabbi and said, his family is protesting that it's late and they're tired, and what should he do? He says, listen. He says, you're not in life to make a quota. You're in life to do the right thing. If your family is, so what? You never missed synagogue in your whole life. Okay, but that doesn't matter. I mean, that's a statistic. We're not here to do statistics. We're here to do the right thing. So, so sometimes, when you mess up, you just keep going. And what if you're driving to a destination, right? You try to be careful. You try to not get things get in your way, and let's say you hit a pothole and your car is all right, but you just keep going. You don't say, okay, whatever, that was bad and I'm going to stop, right? I mean,
right.
So sometimes it's better to not look at your statistics. Oh, I messed up. You continue on. If you went on a journey for 6 months and you messed up once, you're not starting over necessarily. You just hit a bump, You had 6 months still, and continue on with that 6 months. Don't look at it like you're starting over, because if you look at it like you're starting, some people, they said, oh, I failed, and that's it. It's like
and then they just start it every day again after
that. Right. It's like, oh, I messed up, It's like
right. But, no, I agree with you about that. I mean, that's kind of the conclusion I came to as well. I used to count the days and, okay, I made it these many days without it, these many days without it. But then after a while, I was like, what's the point in like keeping track? It doesn't mean anything. Just like, this
is not who I am right now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And affirmations every day of, this is not who I am. This is not me. Even if you stumble, this is still not me. So people are people. We're going to mess up sometimes. We do with I teach a lot of people that are converting to Judaism, and there's a lot of rules and everything. Keeping kosher, and many times, like, people, like, they've gone through so much, because of their, they affirm that they love, the morality of Judaism. They love the Torah, and they convert and they go through so much, and then after a few weeks they pass by a McDonald's and they eat non-kosher, and they feel so bad that they just want to kill themselves. It's like it's like, okay, so what? Keep going,
Exactly.
You're human, there's another thing though, that, in a lot of some things, I've heard you say, and which is, it is from a woman's perspective, because I have to tell you, like, even like our Talmud, it says that a man's desire is on the outside and a woman's desire is on the inside, and it's a very big difference, because there's somebody on, I'll think of his name. He's a pastor. You're a tremendous person to follow, actually. It's called the Tale of Two Brains.
Okay, I'll write that down. Tale of Two Brains.
He has the whole thing on YouTube of marriage. It was a marriage workshop, and he talked a lot about pornography, actually, which ruins a lot of people's marriages.
Yeah.
But a lot of wisdom. He said, I could preach against it, because he's a pastor. He says, I could preach against it, but I don't have to, because that's the thing, it just ruins people's lives. I mean, just about that. But one thing about a man, and he describes it, the two brains, is about the man's brain and the woman's brain. And he actually has a sculpture of the man's brain and the woman's brain. It was very interesting. So the man, you know what tinnitus is, where I have a little bit of it, where there's no silence at all. You always hear a buzz in your ear, So testosterone is very much the same thing. It's your whole day. I mean, especially when you're a teenager in your 20s, it's zzz, 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 zzz. That's a man's life. I mean, if a woman doesn't realize, if you knew these things, maybe it would disgust you about us even more. But it's so it's it is something to deal with. Like no matter what. I mean, and it's a good thing. It's God meant it for a good thing. You
Right.
know, if we use it the right way, I mean, testosterone will help us in every aspect of our life. I mean, it'll help us be leaders. It'll help us build businesses. And we need it for health. When people get older and their testosterone goes down, they actually need to take some kind of supplement, something to help. Because without testosterone, a man is really, their health constantly goes down. In Hebrew literature, it's brought even in a marriage of too much sexual activity will actually lower your testosterone in the long run. I mean, of course, it's a balance. You need a certain amount, and then but too much will also decrease it, and it could cause health problems. Which now we have supplements, so it's so here's another thing. In a marriage itself, I mean, we're talking about, let's say, even without porn, when people emphasize, let's say, a man, if he's always. Someone said that the one in a relationship with the least sexual, the one who desires sex the least controls the relationship in that regard.
Oh, that's interesting.
Which is interesting. It's also interesting because every other aspect in a marriage, people share. Like, okay, we'll discuss it. We'll compromise. But in the sexual relationship, whoever has the least, sexual desire really controls it, because what are you going to do? Actually, this past, I'm trying to remember his name again, the two brains, but he talks about this, and he says that, you talked a lot about a man being a man and taking control, and the woman's role in a relationship. If people stick to that, I think that will solve a lot of the problems. And now, of course, for instance, I mean, a man goes to his wife and he tries to kiss her, and she's like, "No, I'm not in the mood. I've had a hard day. Not now." She doesn't realize what that does to her husband. I mean,
it's very devastating for a man to be sexually rejected by his own wife.
We're not even talking about sex. We're even talking about just a kiss.
Affection, yeah.
Right. So the thing about it is I've learned from him, actually. I mean, I was married twice, but I've learned a lot. And what it is, a woman needs, first of all, that a man should be a man of mystery. She doesn't want a boring relationship, and she wants him to take control. Many people will be like, "Can we fool around tonight?" And that's, you don't need to talk about it. You don't need to, we live in a society that everybody's afraid right now because of Me Too and all that, man should be too aggressive, or, like, not, he becomes wimpy. And it's a lot of it's society's fault, the way they look at it. First of all, the pornography, everybody, they make a woman into an object, or, so that is a problem, I think. I lived in Las Vegas for 4.5 years.
I bet you saw a lot of that.
Yeah, and the thing is, I was a cantor there. I also sang in the as a gondolier. But I remember driving up we drove all the way from Michigan, and driving up to Vegas, we drive up to the Strip, and, you see these trucks, girls, straight to your room, And I turned to my wife and said, "Oh my gosh, what's going on with this place?" And we didn't live on the strip, so like we lived in the regular community. I mean, it wasn't that terrible there, but after a while, you become used to it. It's like it doesn't even affect you anymore.
Mhm.
Someone said the worst victim of eroticism is eroticism itself.
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
because what happens, feel you don't feel the it doesn't affect you as much. I mean, imagine a person who's really pure, and it's like, I remember. I mean, when we went to religious school, we didn't touch a woman. I mean, we didn't. When you try to watch your eyes and this and that. First time I was on a crowded bus, I remember. I mean, even as a young teenager, and just rubbing against a woman like sent shivers of my, you know, and that is what it's supposed to do, you know.
Yeah.
And when a person gets married and they had all these relationships before, they don't feel the same. It's like they don't, you know,
They're desensitized to it.
absolutely, so it's, so I think, so what do you, so I think sometimes, oh, one thing he said, like, so basically, it's important that a man takes control, I think. And you talk about that a lot. You talk about, like, well, what is the blue pill or the red? It was the first time I heard that, by the way. Like,
Yeah, the red pill.
well, the red pill, it's from a movie, right?
He's from the Matrix. Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't see it, but what was that about, actually?
The Matrix?
Yeah.
So the story follows this guy Neo who's in this modern world, and eventually he realizes that the entire world is constructed and it's controlled by an elite group of people, and that he he eventually realizes that he is kind of in a dream, and he has the choice to either take the red pill, and if he takes the red pill, then he wakes up from the dream and he's in actual reality. Or he could take the blue pill and continue living in that dream that he's in right now. And so basically, now that concept is being used a lot in the internet world, where supposedly if you're blue pilled, if you're living in that fake world, you're basically living in that kind of mentality where you believe that, where you really believe in the Me Too movement, you really believe that, um, that the woman should be in charge of everything. Like that's like the blue pilled world. And so taking the red pill is realizing that everything you've been taught was a lie, and that actually, um, men and women are different. Masculine energy is more in charge, feminine energy is more submissive. It's kind of just waking up to the truth of how God made us to be, essentially.
You were saying it in a way of like, there's a red pill movement that believes that women are trying to,
Yeah, so
take
so that's
control. They're bad, and they're always
there's
trying to.
that. So there's this kind of subculture with the red pill where basically when people refer to the red pill movement, it's when they wake up to the truth of masculine nature and female nature. But a lot of people who find the red pill community, they usually find that community after experiencing a really hurtful or traumatic event from the opposite sex. So you'll notice that a lot of men who are very heavily involved in the red pill community, are men who have been hurt by women in the past. So they might have had experiences where they got married and the woman divorced them and took all their money and stuff like that, you
I know
know?
about that, right?
And so men in that mentality, the danger of getting stuck there is that you start to believe that all women are evil and that all women are going to treat you that way. And people who kind of get stuck in that red pill mindset, they kind of develop a very cynical view of the world, and they believe that it's almost impossible to have a healthy, loving relationship with a woman. They kind of believe, based on their own experiences, they believe that that marriage can never be healthy, that the woman is always going to leave you, she's always going to hurt you and take all your money for which I understand the sentiment because it happens a lot. but
Right.
but there is a reality outside of that where you can have a loving relationship with a woman, but it takes a lot of discernment to know which woman is going to be actually the one to be harmonious with you.
It's my belief is that, well, I got a lot from this pastor of the two brains, but one thing he says is that promiscuity before marriage, is causes many people to not associate sex with love.
That's true.
So so basically, like, I spoke to a woman that said they don't understand why in their relationships, they that sex is so important. They don't
Hmm.
get it. I mean, usually it's the woman, but sometimes even the men. I mean, like, why is that affecting our relationship? Like, we love each other, and one woman told me, actually, she's a relationship, um, she's coaches men with a dating coach.
Hmm.
She's on YouTube, very big channel on YouTube, but she has a lot of live students, and I like learning from everybody, so I try to listen to all these things. But I spoke to her on the phone, and she told me that she has a hard time, like, being sexual with someone she really loves.
That's odd. That's not healthy. I
It's not
think that's
healthy, but what it comes from is being so promiscuous,
Mhm.
that actually, like, you feel with someone you love, like, you can't be erotic with them. You feel, or he's the father of your children, she's the mother of your children. People separate that. She's the homebody, and you know there are
Well, a
actually
lot of
cultures
times
like that. They're like Chinese culture. I think that they have like a wife that they go out with and a wife that it's at home. And
I mean, it's actually kind of common in India too. There's definitely a detrimental impact on a woman and a man's ability to pair bond if they like there's some statistic out there. I forget what the statistic is, but like supposedly I believe if a woman or a man has more than 5 sexual partners before marriage, that like the statistics of divorce go a lot higher, like they're more
I don't
likely
know.
to divorce and everything. But I do believe that repentance is possible. So for people who've
Right,
had
of
a
course.
very right, so people who've had a very promiscuous past, if they can genuinely pray over it and genuinely repent over it, I do believe that God can kind of repair their ability to pair bond to their spouse. But if people don't feel any guilt over it, or if they don't feel any um, repentance about it, then it'll be very difficult to form a healthy sexual relationship with your partner. I mean, there is that statistic that people who are virgins before marriage, their chances of divorce are very, very low because I mean, a lot of it comes from comparison too, like if
Right,
you
sure.
if you don't have experiences to compare your current partner to, then you're more likely to be satisfied.
That's true.
Mhm.
And another thing that he says, Tale of Two Brains, um, that when she's always, again, we live in a culture that, a man can't take too much control. I mean, it's like, you have to. I'm not saying a man should be, just push himself on his wife, God forbid, but the thing is, there is a way, like, instead of saying, oh, can we play around tonight? No, you don't be a wimp.
Exactly. Don't
you
be a
you
wimp.
be more action. Action speaks louder than words.
Hmm.
You talk nicely. You make, a romantic dinner, and you take control. Some people complain that their wives aren't, their wives never initiate sex. So it's actually, you should be the one. Actually, the man should be the one to just lead. And not always should a kiss lead to. You shouldn't be predictable. Shouldn't always lead the same thing. Just boring. Kiss, and then when you get aroused and you have sex. I mean, that's not. Sometimes, even if she wants to go further a little bit, you stop. Sometimes you be unpredictable. It's
Be
like,
playful with it. Yeah, be
right. I
playful.
mean,
I think that, and what you're saying is so true about, like, don't be a wimp about it. I mean, at the end of the day, if you've chosen to marry someone, you can feel comfortable to, like, press them against a wall, give them a kiss,
right,
like
right, exactly,
be a
right,
bit aggressive about it. They're your wife after all,
right, exactly.
like she's
People are
not, it's not like
so,
she's gonna be
because
like,
they're so influenced by the society of, they're afraid that they're going to be looked, even to ask a woman out. I mean, my grandfather, when he was, when he approached my grandmother, I mean, if he would have done what he did with, today, he would have been looked at it like, oh my gosh, it's like he didn't call her, he went to her workplace
mhm,
and he asked her out.
that's
Someone told him
attractive.
about her, and that's it. Like,
That's great. I mean, I think that, they say that attraction is based on polarity, and that, if if you're treating your wife like, you know, like a friend and like someone who you kind of have to ask permission for and everything, then it weakens the polarity between the two people, and it destroys the attraction. But the more a man can be in his masculine energy and create that polarity, that difference between each other, there's more likely to be a stronger attraction. He has
absolutely.
to, he shouldn't be matching her energy. He should be kind of directly like conflicting it almost, in a good way, though obviously not in like a, I'm not
Right,
suggesting a
not to
man,
be right.
right, yeah, you know what I
Actually, I
mean.
mean, in the Bible, where God told Eve, after she pushed the fruit, she was aggressive. She pushed the forbidden fruit on Adam.
Mhm.
Well, God
Right.
told her that you will have to go through a long pregnancy, but then He says your man will rule over you. I mean,
Mhm.
it doesn't mean, like aggressively, but it will rule over you, and your desire will be to him. And the interesting thing is that doesn't it's not a punishment that, like, oh, that she's going to feel victimized. It's actually, she won't feel satisfied unless he takes the rule. So
Absolutely. Absolutely, because I mean, and it does come down to him being led by God, because if he is leading his wife through being led by God, then his intention is going to be to lead both of them. Like his intention in ruling over his wife is to have her best interest in mind as well. But a man who is not connected to God, it's dangerous to submit to a man who's not connected to God, because he might lead you to, more selfish desires that will benefit him but not you as a woman. But a man who is truly guided by God, he's going to lead in such a way where it'll be to both of their benefit. And a woman in a position like that, like I mean, this might be very controversial. I don't know how controversial I can be on the stream right now, but
Well,
um, well, I mean, I've worked with so many people now, and I've heard so many women say that they have rape fantasies. They fantasize over a man taking total control and dominion over them. They fantasize about it. It gets them aroused. It gets them turned on, but it's within a specific context. It's within a context where they know they're not going to be physically hurt. It's because
is that good or bad? What do you think?
I think it speaks to a natural desire that women have to be dominated, but not in a
Not in
negative
a
way,
bad way, right? So
not in a
yeah,
bad way.
you remember Rush Limbaugh? I mean, I don't know if you
Mhm.
listen to him at all.
A little bit here and there.
No, so there was all this Me Too culture, but I think it was before the Me Too culture. I mean, this was back, and you're younger than me, so I used to listen to him all the time. But he had this thing, like because they were saying, they were talking about people raping their wives, so like he had all these women call into his show and says, "My husband rapes me, and I love
Well, I mean, if you're a woman who's decided to marry a man, I should hope that you've done so because you desire him, right?
it."
Like if you're a woman and you don't desire your own husband, like what does that say about you and your ability to pick? Like why would you pick a man you don't desire? Like I've never understood that whole concept of a woman feeling offended by her husband asking for sex. It's like, why'd you marry him? You married like you both people should be enthusiastically wanting to satisfy
Right.
each other's desires like that,
So one thing, I mean, especially in like early dating, I mean, well, we're not talking not early dating. Let's say, I mean, whatever it is, any look, people talk about being physical before marriage, but let's say in our context where in anything like you are whether you ask for another date, whatever it is, rejection. Um, when a man whines about it and complains about it, he becomes less attractive. And
Yes.
even in a marriage, when a woman a person has to be, a man should not take it personally. If it doesn't happen all the time, like even if she rejects him, whatever, don't make a thing out of it. You know
Mm-hmm.
what? Okay, no
Mm-hmm.
problem.
Mm-hmm.
No problem should be on your mouth, unless it happens all the time, then you have a problem and you should, address the problems in your relationship. But if it happens, once in a while, the worst thing a man could do is to say why and to whine about it. Then he becomes desperate and he becomes needy. The worst thing a man could do is be needy.
Well, yeah,
So
it puts him in his feminine energy, and then that inherently kind of creates repulsion from the woman. Like the woman will be
exactly.
repulsed by that. Mhm.
So if she rejects a person once or what, just whatever, like whatever, maybe she's whatever it is, maybe she's not feeling well, something like that. Don't make a thing out of it. Okay, no
Don't make a
problem.
thing out of it. But I have to say too, though, that you should also marry a woman who won't reject you like that too. Like, because I mean, honestly, like, I mean, of course, there's going to be times, yeah, if a woman is sick, if she's not feeling well, or
Right,
if she
exactly.
had a kid or something, whatever. Barring, like, excluding those kinds of situations,
Right.
the wife should not be rejecting the man.
Correct.
That's
But
actually
if it
not.
happens once in a while and he doesn't make a thing out of it, it could be corrected that way, almost like. And by the way, not taking no as no. In other words, you could continue if she rejects the man, let's say, um, in the beginning, maybe she's not warmed up enough, like
Mhm.
just continue talking. Just like pretend like that didn't happen,
Give her a massage.
Right. Pretend like it didn't happen. Don't make a thing out of it. Don't say, oh, why, don't whine about it. Just keep
Mhm.
going, keep moving.
Mhm.
you know, it, she's not ready yet. Maybe that's all. It's like, and that could happen. You know,
It could happen, but I will say that a good wife should want to please her man. And if she is sick or if she's not feeling well and the husband asks and she says no, a good wife won't a good wife will be able to say no without making him feel rejected. Like she'll be able to say like, "Oh, I'm not feeling well tonight, but I can't wait to do it with you tomorrow," or something, Like
Right, right.
she should be able to it shouldn't be a power struggle, like it should.
Exactly.
Right.
A woman who says like, why do I feel like my husband thinks I'm nagging, but I'm just trying to encourage him. It's like, but there's a difference between nagging and encouraging. I mean, it's like, you know what it is? A woman that's like, she goes to work and she's a manager of a company and she talks to her employees like a certain way,
Yep.
and then she takes that home with her, So it's like,
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why a lot of that's why part of the whole red pill movement is like part of taking the red pill is kind of moving in the direction of bringing women out of the workplace and back home, because it can help to restore polarity between the two people. Like, because a woman who is very career oriented, like you said, she's going to, in order for a woman to be successful in the workplace, she has to be masculine. She has to be less feminine, because, you know,
yeah,
feminine energy does not lead you to success. It like, you need masculine energy to be successful. But so for a woman to be in that mindset all day and then to come home, it is very hard to break free from that mind that she's been in for 8 hours during the day. And so, you know, there I mean, there's definitely exceptions to that rule for sure, but in general, um, women who I mean, this is going to be extremely controversial, but whatever. So, like, they say also that, women with more education tend to be this way. Like women with higher education, with who have, these PhDs and everything, they tend to take on a very arrogant persona sometimes, where they can kind of not allow the man to lead. Like they don't even they don't trust. They have a very like a lack of ability to trust their husbands, or they'll make it really impossible for the man to be wrong sometimes. Like if a man does something wrong, then she won't let him hear the end of it, as opposed to letting him make mistakes and like
right.
not rubbing it in his face when he fails, but instead just giving him space to like make those mistakes and learn from them and grow. Like honestly, what it is basically mothering. It's basically like the woman becomes the mother of her husband rather than the wife.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times, I mean, she could be in the mother mode. I mean, like,
Mhm.
telling the kids, did you put away your toys? And then when the husband comes home, did you take out the garbage? With that tone, the same tone of voice. It's like, instead of,
Yeah.
I appreciate if you remember to take out I mean, that's
Yeah,
how you talk to your husband. You don't talk to them the same way as you talk to your little kids,
absolutely.
but so I think that, so I don't know. I think the takeaway, we, I mean, what would you, well, first of all, yeah, what would you say that people that, um, we spoke a lot about, a lot of things, and you help a lot of men. I mean, what will, first of all, I mean, people could look you up at Ahana, your channel, and then you have a website, right?
I do. It's ahana.us, AAHANA dot
Do you work
US.
with them? You work with people one on one, or you give like what you give like seminar and
I work with people one on one, but I am hopefully by next week it'll be ready, but I'm going to be launching a support group so people can join in for that, and we'll have weekly meetings on Zoom to talk through things. And but I also offer one-on-one as well. So if you're interested in joining the support group, you can visit ahana.us and sign up for my newsletter there. But I will say though that pornography is a really big reason for why people are getting into these kinds of unhappy relationships, because a man, when he's watching porn, he becomes more feminine through doing that, because watching porn is a very passive activity. It doesn't require a man to be out in the world and initiate things and practice social skills and things like that. So when a man is very passively watching porn, it puts him in a very feminine energy. And when a man is in that type of energy, he's going to attract very masculine women. So the best thing a man can do to attract a very feminine, spirited woman is to take control of his own energy, become more masculine, and the best way to do that is to stop watching porn. It allows you to take your energy back. And when you remove the ability to have an orgasm, it increases your motivation to find that in real life, to find someone in real life who you can enjoy sex with. And it gives a man more energy that way. Like I've heard from many men say that when they stop watching porn, they naturally start to feel more aggressive. And that's because they have kind of more pent up sexual energy. But that's
Wow.
very conducive to masculinity. Like that aggression is kind of needed in a lot of men sometimes, because a lot of men are very subdued and very, like you said, very wimpy right now. So when they have that kind of sexual frustration, it can work in their favor by helping them to kind of be a bit more aggressive in their lives, but in a healthy way, you know.
Right. I mean, I think also that people, we have, because of the attitudes of society,
Mhm.
a man has to know that when he's aggressive in dating and marriage, that he's doing the right thing.
Yes.
He's doing what he's supposed to do.
Yes.
Also, when a person stops objectifying a woman, like many times, you'll find if you ask a really, really beautiful woman, like, 10 plus, that walks down the street, how many men actually approach you in a respectable way? Not, we're not talking about, cat calls and things like that
Mhm.
from across the street and are afraid to come over.
Mhm.
We're talking about really approaching and, introducing yourself and, having a conversation. They hardly get it at all.
It's not many. Yeah, exactly. They might have a lot of men finding them on social media
Right,
and
exactly, right.
messaging them, but that's the type of men who are watching porn. Those are the kinds of men who are used to making interactions through a screen. They're not used to like getting out there and talking to someone. And so I think that, the porn thing, it's a really big deal. It
But I
affects
found my
many
mindset,
women.
like, about approaching women. I said, like, just approach her like a person, first of all.
Exactly.
She's a
Exactly.
person, and, and also what helps sometimes is, like, if you're nervous, just say you're nervous. Be
Yeah,
honest.
you don't and you don't even have to like I mean, honestly, when a man can just kind of think about her pooping or something, Like
Well,
think about
okay.
something that's gonna humanize her a little
But you
bit.
could even think that, think of her like her, and that also helps a little bit, and and just, but you have a conversation, like, like a person. It's not like you're not putting her on a pedestal like she's some kind of angel that's not natural, like, just
Exactly.
because of her looks, by the way. It's like,
Yeah,
she's still a person no matter how she looks.
exactly. And you'll find that when you pedestalize a woman inherently, like if you're pedestalizing a woman, that means you're seeing her up here, that means she's looking down on you. And it,
Exactly.
and it's not conducive to attraction. That it's honestly, if a man is very pedestalizing towards a woman, she will be repulsed by that kind of energy. She, like, the ideal scenario is where she's the one looking up to you, not the other way around.
Yeah. So again, um, you know, Alana or Hana is your
It's my
your
YouTube name.
your YouTube name. How did you get Ahana, by the way?
Oh, I actually so one of my friends many years ago, he was reading a book and there was like a character in the story called Ahana, and he asked me if I knew what that word meant because it was like a Hindi word and I actually didn't know what it meant, but I looked it up and I found out that it meant indestructible one and first rays of the sun, and I really loved it and I thought that it was similar enough to my name, so I just was like I'll
Oh,
just put
cool.
that on Ahana.
Okay, so yeah, guys, and by the way, for a lot of people, it's there's a lot of stigma to admitting that. Yeah, we have a saying in Hebrew that "Eina baishon lamed." That means that someone who is ashamed will never learn.
Yeah.
I mean, my way is, the truth is, like, I would feel like, oh, people would think that, I'm addicted to porn or something like that. But the truth is, I would, I'm interested in hearing perspectives and ideas no matter what. It doesn't, anybody could learn from it, because look, we're all human and there's temptations that come up. I mean, we should learn from all people, you know, and that's the beauty of YouTube, except for their censorship, which I don't like.
The censorship is insane these days. Like it. Oh God, my dog. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
But yeah,
so
the
it's
censorship is crazy right now. Everyone's getting censored. I get very paranoid over like the kind of content I put out sometimes. Like there's many things I want to talk about, but I just can't because I've seen
I
other
know,
people
and
talk
the thing
about it.
is, you could also use Vimeo.
Yeah, there's Vimeo. There's also
They
Rumble. Have
they
you heard of
yeah
Rumble?
they censor less.
Okay.
But the thing about, I'm always, because I'm trying to build up a YouTube business. I mean, to monetize it more and to
Mm-hmm.
get more subscribers. I mean, I'm part of a group that is going to, I tend to build it up, and because this is what I love. I love singing. I love teaching, and but I'm always worried. But somebody's in control of my income. It's like, let's say there are people I know that are billionaires from YouTube. But you could
Wow.
imagine if they get thrown off. It's like
That's
their
why
whole
the key is
income is.
having your own website. That's why you got to have your own website. You got to have your own email list, a way to contact the people who want to follow you. That's what I realized really quickly is that, I definitely cannot rely on YouTube ads because, like you said, it could get taken away any moment. And so, you know, the website, the coaching, stuff like that, it's not, no one can take that away.
Yeah. So that's good advice, actually.
Hmm.
But anyway, so you have a website, and it's also Ahana, right?
Yeah,
Ahana.
ahana.us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it was a really great interview, and we'll speak again in the future.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me
And
on. I
my
appreciate
parents
it.
live in Detroit. If I ever swing by when I used to live in Detroit, I used to come to Chicago, like, for the lyric opera, because I'm into, I love the Chicago lyric opera, and
Oh,
it's a
cool.
very left-wing city, though.
Extremely, extremely. I mean, we have Lori Lightfoot, and so
But they have some good kosher restaurants, which
Oh,
I
do they?
like.
I don't even know about the kosher restaurants here. Maybe
Well,
we
right
do.
right near the Broadway district. I don't know. I was there. I wasn't there recently, but they have.
Mhm.
But it's
I'm sorry,
it's
I gotta
very
let my
similar to
dog
New
out.
York. So
She's like all whining right now. I gotta let her out, but
this
it
was
was a
this
pleasure
was
to
really
talk to
great,
you.
and
Yeah,
thank you very much for joining us tonight. And
of course. It was a
and
pleasure.
okay,
Talk to you
see you.
soon.
Bye.